Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. And this is Jessica and you're Sean Sherman. So today we're going to are we going to do reporting today?
Reporting?
I don't know, to you. You said we will make a video today.
Yeah, we're going to make a video about, a video reviewing Jordan Peterson's most famous video.
Yeah, I know.
Channel 4 with Cathy Newman.
Alright, let's get started.
Okay.
Jordan Peterson, you've said that men need to, quote, grow the hell up. Tell me why.
Well, because there's nothing uglier than an old infant. There's nothing good about it.
Except for an
people
old
who
man.
don't grow up don't find the sort of meaning in their life that sustains them through difficult times, and they're certain to encounter difficult times. And they're left bitter and resentful and without purpose and adrift and hostile and resentful and vengeful and arrogant and deceitful and of no use to themselves and of no use to anyone else and no partner for a woman, and there's nothing in it that's good.
So you say, I mean, that sounds pretty bad. You're saying
It's
there's a
bad.
crisis of masculinity? I mean, what do you do about it?
You help people understand why it's necessary and important for them to grow up and adopt responsibility, why that isn't a shake your finger and get your act together sort of thing, why it's more like a delineation of the kind of destiny that makes life worth living. I've been telling young men, but it's not, I wasn't specifically aiming this message at young men to begin with. It just kind of turned out that way.
And it's mostly, you admit, it's mostly men listening. I mean,
It is.
90% of your audience is a male,
Well, it's
right?
about 80% on YouTube, YouTube is a male domain primarily. So it's hard to tell how much of it is because YouTube is male and how much of it is because of what I'm saying. But
Yeah. How come you're not watching YouTube? It's all men?
I'm watching YouTube.
Well,
It's
you
not
know
all-
why? Because you identify as a man when you watch YouTube. You're gender fluid, babe. That's why.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think you realized that you were doing that, but you were doing that.
No.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Women watching YouTube too.
That's
Like
not.
Taylor
It's not
Swift.
true. We
Taylor
heard it
Swift.
here. It's
We're
not
watching
true.
Taylor Swift, right, guys?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Oh my god.
So that's for women. See?
Are you Swifties?
Yeah. Check it out.
Is that what she calls them, Swifties?
Yeah. You will be part of it.
How did I
right?
know that?
Huh?
I don't
See?
even-
You're part of it.
I don't even know how I knew that.
No, you're part of it because.
But I identify as a woman when I watch Taylor Swift.
Yeah. This happened.
what I've been telling young men is that there's an actual reason why they need to grow up, which is that they have something to offer, that people have within them this capacity to set the world straight, and that's necessary to manifest in the world, and that also doing so is where you find the meaning that sustains you in life.
So what's gone wrong then?
Oh, God, all sorts of things have gone wrong.
Everything.
I don't think that young men hear words of encouragement. Some of them never in their entire lives, as far as I can tell. That's what they tell me. And the fact
I kind of agree with him because a lot of people, when they grow up, even like their father is like very stoic and may not be telling you, good job, son, whatever. Like my dad was very rare to give any sort of like compliment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It would be like, did you get 100%? No? Okay, do better.
0. I got 0. All right, good job.
No, if you got 0, it's not a good job. You failed. What are you talking about? You're going to be the worst. I'm going to have to be the parent here. Oh, my God. That didn't happen? How were your parents? Did they give you encouragement growing up?
Yeah, that's good. You're saying, keep up next time.
What?
Keep up next time. Like, try to do it more better next time, like that.
Okay.
But at least you try.
Okay. At least you tried. You still failed horribly, but you tried. Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
You made an effort.
fact that the words that I've been speaking, the YouTube lectures that I've done and put online, for example, have had such a dramatic impact is an indication that young men are starving for this sort of message, because like, why in the world would they have to derive it from a lecture on YouTube? They're not being taught that it's important to develop yourself.
But does it bother you that your audience is predominantly male? Isn't Isn't that a bit divisive?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's no more divisive than the fact that YouTube is primarily male and Tumblr is primarily
that's pretty divisive,
female.
isn't
Well,
it?
Tumblr is primarily female.
Right, you're just saying that's the way it is.
Well, I'm not saying anything. It's just an observation that that's the way it is. There's plenty of women that are watching my lectures and coming to my talks and buying my books. It's just that the majority of them happen to be men.
What's in it for the women, though?
Well, what sort of partner do you want? Do you want an overgrown child? Or do you want some...
It's like a weird thing that she says, like, what's in it for the women? Because, like, why wouldn't women also need encouragement? I mean, women get encouragement, maybe, like, what he's saying is more than men, perhaps. But still, like, what is wrong with an encouraging room and getting your life together? Why wouldn't women want to hear that? I feel like her question is dumb. Like, why? What would women get out of it?
I don't have a comment for that.
What? Why are you even here? No comment?
Someone to contend with that's going to help you and that
So
you
you're
can
saying
rely on.
women have some sort of duty to sort of help fix the crisis of masculinity?
It depends on what they want. No, I mean, it's exactly how I laid it out. Like, women deeply want men who are competent and powerful. And I don't mean power in that they can exert tyrannical control over others. That's not power. That's just corruption. Power is competence. And why in the world would you not want a competent partner? Well, I know why, actually. You can't dominate a competent partner. So if you want
women
domination...
want to dominate, is that what you're saying?
No, I'd say women who have had their relationships their relationships with men impaired and who are afraid of such relationships will settle for a weak partner because they can dominate them. But it's a suboptimal solution.
Do you think that's what a lot of women are doing?
I think there's a substantial minority of women who do that. And I think it's very bad for them. They're very unhappy. It's very bad for their partners, although the partners get the advantage of not having to take any responsibility.
Do you know any women like that?
I haven't.
No, because I know a lot. Like, I've met a lot here.
Really?
And I would say, yeah. And usually I would say the people do not look happy in the relationship. When I say a lot, I mean maybe 20%. I've met people like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm throwing a percentage on it, so maybe it's not that much. But yeah, where like the guy is like just there, like oh my god, like can't even make decisions on himself. Like
really?
It's really weird. Like I'm thinking of this one guy in particular. And he was taking like he'd have to take medication. He was drinking like crazy. He'd be smoking weed like crazy. Like he wouldn't want to leave the house, like to go do stuff. I took him out to a movie, and by the end of the movie, he was like, "I gotta go home." Like he was freaking out.
Oh,
like
because my wife is waiting for me, and he will get mad.
No, it wasn't even like that. He just couldn't I don't know, like he couldn't deal with being social or whatever. It's just very like uncomfortable and can't deal with that. And the woman, completely super competent, like top career, just killing it, and just like a boss to a bunch of people. So she was like a boss to him. Like literally like ran his life. Was like, okay, you need to go do this, you need to put on these clothes, you need to wash this, whatever it is. It was really weird.
It's more like the under has one like that.
Under what?
Under.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Under. What are you saying? Like
under.
Like it's.
He's under her. You mean?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
What gives you the right to say that? I mean, maybe that's how women want their relationships. Those women. I mean, you're making these vast generalizations.
I'm a clinical psychologist.
Right. So you're saying you've done your research, and women are unhappy dominating men.
I didn't say they were unhappy dominating men. I said it was a bad long-term solution.
Okay, you said it was making them miserable.
Thing. Yes, it is. And it depends on the time frame. I mean, there's intense pleasure in momentary domination. That's why people do it all the time. But it's no formula for a successful long-term relationship. That's reciprocal, right? Any long-term relationship is reciprocal, virtually by definition. So
let me put a quote to you from the book. where you say there are whole disciplines in universities forthrightly hostile towards men. These are the areas of study dominated by the postmodern stroke neo-Marxist claim that Western culture in particular is an oppressive structure created by white men to dominate and exclude women. But then I want to put
minorities too dominate and exclude
okay, sure.
and women.
But I want to put to you that here in the UK, for example, let's take that as an example, the gender pay gap stands at just over 9%. You've got women at the BBC recently saying that the broadcaster is illegally paying them less than men to do the same job. You've got only 7 women running the top FTSE 100 companies.
Yeah.
So it seems to a lot of women that they're still being dominated and excluded, to quote your words back to you.
It does seem that way, but multivariate analysis of the pay gap indicate that it doesn't exist.
But that's just
you
not
do,
true,
you-
is it?
That's
I mean, that
absolutely
9% pay gap, that's a gap between median hourly earnings
Yeah.
between men and women.
But there's
that
multiple.
exists.
Yeah, but there's multiple.
Just like listen to what she's saying. Hey, this is the average earnings across all the spectrum of employment for men and women, and then we look and we see the difference, and oh my God, women earn less. And I'm like, that is the stupidest way to do any sort of analysis.
I think, yeah, I'm agree with you because I found like a while ago while we are having pickleball, right? And then I see, or going to the pickleball, I see like a woman driving a bus, and it's kind of interesting because here in Canada, I figured it out, like whatever your gender is, like as long as you can do the job, you can. Like
Yep.
I thought like mostly here the bus driver will be like a man or a school driver will be a man, but I can see like I think 5 already or 4.
Yeah, you've seen it pretty common now. Yeah,
it's
women
a
driving.
woman driving a bus or
Yeah,
a
or a
school
truck or
bus.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're saying like in Philippines that would just not be, they wouldn't hire you for the position.
Yeah, they prefer more a man doing it.
Yeah.
They kind of have like gender issues when it comes to the jobs particularly. But here in Canada, as long as you can do it, whatever your gender
Yep.
is.
You proved the skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If you really wanted to accurately discover like a gap in pay or whatever, you would have to look at the same scenario. It'd be
Yeah.
like the same person. The only thing that would be different is that their gender is different. Otherwise, their credentials would be the same, their experience would be the same, all that stuff would be the same, and you would
Right.
try to see, oh, are they making less? And then you would take into account all these other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. That's correct.
Reasons for that. One of them is gender, but it's not the only reason. Like if you're a social scientist worth your salt, you never do a univariate analysis. Like you say, well, women in aggregate are paid less than men. Okay, well, then we break it down by age, we break it down by occupation, we break it down by interest, we break it down by personality.
But you're saying basically it doesn't matter if women aren't getting to the top because that's what's skewing that gender pay gap, isn't it? You're saying, well, that's just a fact of
No,
life.
it's saying
Women
it
aren't
doesn't
necessarily
matter.
going to get to the top.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter either.
You're saying
I'm
it's a
saying
fact
there are
of life.
multiple reasons for it.
Yeah, but
and that
those
aren't being
reasons,
taken into
why
account.
should women put up with those reasons? Why should
Why should
women be
put up with it?
content
I'm not
not
saying
to
that
get
they
to
should
the top?
put up with it. I'm saying that the claim that the wage gap between men and women is only due to sex is wrong. And it is wrong. There's no doubt about that. The multivariate analysis have been done. So I can give you an
You
example.
keep on talking about
Wait a second.
multivariate analysis.
Let me give you an
but
example.
I'm saying that 9% pay gap exists.
Yeah.
That's a gap between men and women. I'm not saying why it exists, but it exists. Now,
but
if
you
you're
have
a
to say
woman,
why
that
it
seems
exists.
pretty unfair.
You have to say why it exists.
Listen to her train of thought. The pay gap exists. I don't know why it exists, but it exists and it needs to be fixed.
It needs to be fixed.
That's, you know what that
Situation.
sounds like? That sounds like a mother talking to her kids.
Yeah.
I don't care why you're fighting or what's happening, but this needs to stop right now.
Yeah. You should follow this right now.
Do you agree that it's unfair? If you're a woman,
Not necessarily.
and on average you're getting paid 9% less than a man, that's not fair, is it?
It depends on why it's happening. I can give you an example. Okay. There's a personality trait known as agreeableness. Agreeable people are compassionate and polite. And agreeable people get paid less than less agreeable people for the same job. Women are more agreeable than men.
Again, a vast generalization. Some
It's not
women
a
are not more
generalization.
agreeable than
Yes,
men.
that's true, but that's right. And some women get paid more than men.
So you were saying that by and large, women are too agreeable to get the pay rises they deserve.
No, I'm saying that that's one component of a multivariate equation that predicts salary. It accounts for maybe 5% of the variance, something like that.
So surely
you
the
need about
answer...
you need about another 18 factors, one of which is gender. And there is prejudice, there's no doubt about that, but it accounts for a much smaller proportion of the variance in the pay gap than the radical feminists claim.
Okay, so rather than denying the pay gap exists, which is what you did at the beginning of this conversation, shouldn't you say to women, rather than being agreeable and not asking for a pay rise, go and ask for a pay rise? Make yourself disagreeable with your boss.
Oh, definitely, there's that. But I also didn't deny it existed. I denied it existed because of gender.
Okay.
See, because I'm very, very, very careful with my words.
So the pay gap exists, you accept that, but you're saying... I mean, the pay gap between men and women exists. But you're saying it's not because of gender, it's because women are too agreeable to ask for pay rises. So
it's one of the reasons.
Okay, one of the reasons. So why not get them to ask for a pay rise?
I've done
that be a fairer way of proceeding?
many, many times in my career.
And they just
I've counseled. Oh, they do it all the time. So one of the things that you do as a clinical psychologist is assertiveness training. So you might say, often you treat people for anxiety, you treat them for depression. And maybe the next most common category after that would be assertiveness training. And so I've had many, many women, extraordinarily competent women in my clinical and consulting practice. And we put together strategies for their career development that involve continual pushing, competing for higher wages, and often tripled their wages within a 5-year period, teaching them how to negotiate. That? Of course.
So do you agree that you would be happy if that pay gap was eliminated completely? Because that's all the radical feminists are saying.
It would depend on how it was eradicated and how the disappearance of it was measured.
Who would sit there and be like, you know what? I don't think people should be paid the same. If they're doing the same work and with the same skill, they should not be paid the same. Who would ever say that?
A crazy boss.
Yeah, or like somebody who's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, no normal person is going to sit there and be like, obviously women need to be paid less because they're women. Like, no one's ever going to say that. Like, it's so stupid.
Right.
It's a stupid question.
And you're saying if it's at the cost of men, that's a problem.
Oh, there's all sorts of things that it could be at the cost of. It could even be at the cost of women's own interests. So
because they might not be happy if they get equal pay.
No, because it might interfere with other things that are causing the pay gap that women are choosing to do.
Like having children.
Well, or choosing careers that actually happen to be paid less, which women do a lot of.
But why shouldn't women have the right to choose not to have children or the right to choose those demanding careers?
They do. They can. Yeah, that's fine.
But you're saying that makes them unhappy, by and large.
I'm saying that no, I'm not saying that. And I actually haven't said that so far.
You're saying it makes them miserable.
No, I said that what was making them miserable was having weak partners. That makes them miserable.
Where is she getting all this stuff? She's taking stuff from the beginning of the interview.
Yeah,
and then sticking onto a different topic.
She's good in provoking.
Apparently, very good at provoking. Imagine being in a relationship with somebody like that.
Crazy one. Kind of toxic.
I
don't like it.
Right. I would say that many women around the age of, I would say between 28 and 32, have a career family crisis that they have to deal with. And I think that's partly because of the foreshortened time frame that women have to contend with. Like, women have to get the major pieces of their life put together faster than men, which is also partly why men aren't under so much pressure to grow up. So because...
Can I ask you, so do you feel that pressure? No? Yeah. You don't think about that? What he's saying, that you should have, kids and all that stuff, like you have to grow up faster than a guy? Because as a guy, like when I look at like my guy friends or even just myself, I did not feel pressure. I was like, in my 30s, I'm like still not, married, whatever. I was like, okay, it's fine. Like I never felt like, okay, I gotta rush. Other than people were like, you should have kids.
Yeah, like... Well, right now, I don't feel that pressure at all. Like...
No?
No.
You don't think about that at all?
Having kids?
No, but I mean, like, the fact of, like, having kids, because you don't want to have geriatric pregnancy or whatever?
Yeah, for women. No.
No? Don't think about it? No. Still too young. The joys of the 20s.
As for the typical woman, she has to have her career and family in order pretty much by the time she's 35, because otherwise the options start to run out. And so that puts a tremendous amount of stress on women, especially at the end of their 20s.
I think I take issue with the idea of...
Are you going to yawn through our whole video? This girl yawning over here. It's like, oh, Jordan Peterson. Oh. Should have got you some coffee or a Red Bull.
Coffee? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I need a big mug and coffee.
the typical woman, because, you know, all women are different. And that's what I want to just put another quote to you from the book.
Well,
You
they're
say,
different in some ways and the same in others.
okay, you say women become more vulnerable when they have children.
Oh,
And
yes.
you talked in one of your YouTube interviews about crazy Harpy sisters. So, simple question. Is gender equality a myth in your view? Is that something that's just never going to happen?
It depends on what you mean by equality.
What did Crazy Harpy Sisters have to do anything with the question she asked?
I don't know Harpy. Who's that?
Harpy?
Yeah.
Harpy's like a mythical creature.
Cartoon character?
No, it's a mythical creature. It's like it's usually like some kind of a woman with wings and a claws. It's kind of like half bird, half woman.
All right.
Yeah. And they screech. They screech very loud. They hurt your ears. Mm-hmm. I don't know. My D&D knowledge coming. Yes. So you said Crazy Harpy Sisters. So I'm assuming like screeching women, be like, you know what I mean? Like just complaining.
Yeah, complaining.
No,
Being
if you
treated
mean
fairly,
men and women.
getting the same opportunities.
Fairly, we could get to a point where people were treated fairly or more fairly. I mean, people are treated pretty fairly in Western culture already, but we can.
But they're really not, though, are they? I mean, otherwise, why
depends.
would there only be 7 women running FTSE 100 companies in the UK? Why would there still be a pay gap, which we've
well,
discussed
that's
at length?
easy. It's easy
Why
to
are
answer
women
that
at the
question.
BBC saying that they're getting paid illegally less than men to do the same job?
Well,
That's not fair,
Well,
is
let's
it?
go to the first question. They're both.
You know what? We have the solution already.
We have.
50% of the men just need to step out of those jobs, need to leave. So it's 50-50, and 50 women come in and just become the CEOs and leaders of those companies. Yeah. And then it's equal. Then it's equal, and then she can shut up, and we never have to hear about it again. Right? Would that make her happy then?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. All right, we're good. We got the solution, guys. We're done.
We're done.
Well, those are complicated questions. Seven women. Repeat that one. There's
7
only
women running the top FTSE 100 companies in the UK.
Okay. Well, the
I mean,
first
that's not
question
fair.
might be, why would you want to do that?
Why would a man want to do it? I
Well,
mean, it's a lot of money.
there's
It's an interesting
There's a
job.
certain
You know?
number of men, although not that many, who are perfectly willing to sacrifice virtually all of their life to the pursuit of a high-end career. So they'll work. These are men that are very intelligent. They're usually very, very conscientious. They're very driven. They're very high energy. They're very healthy. And they're willing to work 70 or 80 hours a week, nonstop, specialized at one thing to get to the top.
So you're saying women are just more sensible. They don't want that because it's not a nice life.
I'm saying that's part of it, definitely. And so I work
So you don't think they're...
Looking at the men and women who finished higher education, university, college that I know, and the guys are way more likely to work overtime, work extra hours, do all that thing. And then the women are like 9 to 5 and they're done. They're like, oh, it's home time. I'm out. And then they complain about the work. They're like, oh, it was so hard. They're complaining. But the guys are likely to work like just extra hours. And I don't know. It's just what I've seen. Or the women take easier jobs on purpose. They're like, well, I don't want this really high-powered career. You know, most women, and they choose something that's a little more, they say sensible, but a little more like, what do you call it? Like just a normal 9 to 5 job. Like just, you know, go to work,
I
get
don't
money.
think so.
You don't think so? You think women are choosing a hard job?
Yeah.
Really?
Because
You're not allowed to disagree with me. That's not how this works.
no, I am always correct.
Oh, shit. Okay. I'm identifying as a woman right now. So actually, you are not correct. I'm correct. As well.
I'm correct.
No.
No, I'm correct.
No. I'm sorry.
I'm correct. When I was working way back then, I always
Yes.
do overtime. So I'm working so very, very hard.
Yeah, but you are very industrious. You're a very productive person. Like even here, you work like You are constantly working and doing stuff in the house, whatever. You're always doing stuff. Why are you like tonguing the gum right now? What are you doing?
You know?
I don't want it. You licked it now. Let me lick it up, and you want it now? You're gonna chew it for me and then give it to me like a bird? Okay, so you're saying, yeah, but that's you. But how many other women did you see doing that? Did you see more men doing that, or did you see more women doing that? Or is it just equal?
50-50.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe because Philippines people are more hard workers.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem that way when I was driving around there. It's just see people like laying and sleeping with the gypsies and stuff. It's like sleeping, waiting till they get called. It was a bunch of men.
Yeah, some women are just waiting, and then some other women are like...
Well, there are women that definitely like have multiple jobs, especially
Yeah.
if you think about like a single mother. They're working really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially a breadwinner woman. You know what breadwinner like they're the one.
yeah, but what kind of bread?
Garlic bread.
Garlic bread.
Garlic bread.
You were thinking about that one. You're like, what is he saying? Garlic bread?
All right.
There are barriers in their way that prevent them getting to the top
Oh,
of
there
those
are some
companies.
barriers, yeah, like men, for example. I mean, to get to the top of any organization is an incredibly competitive enterprise. And the men that you're competing with are simply not going to roll over and say, please take the position.
So let me come back to my
absolute
question.
all-out warfare.
Is gender equality a myth?
I don't know what you mean by the question. Men and women aren't the same, and they won't be the same. That doesn't mean they can't be treated fairly.
You know when he said they're not just going to roll over and give you the position? I just thought of the trope of like when they sleep with their boss and then they go up, they get promotions and stuff. I was like, technically they are rolling over. Because I feel like in every company there's something like that.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
All the time.
And it's not the guys sleeping with their bosses, it's the women sleeping with the boss or something. Sometimes the guy might sleep with the boss, but in general, it's women.
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of. Maybe 40%. 20%.
20% men?
No, women.
What? Then it's 80% men.
Yeah.
I'm so lost now.
Is gender equality desirable?
If it means equality of outcome, then almost certainly it's undesirable. That's already been demonstrated in Scandinavia. Because in
What do
Scandinavia...
you mean by that? Equality of outcome is undesirable.
Well, men and women won't sort themselves into the same categories if you leave them alone to do it of their own accord. I've already seen that in Scandinavia. It's 20 to 1 female nurses to male, something like that. It might not be quite that extreme. And approximately the same male engineers to female engineers. And that's a consequence of the free choice of men and women in the societies that have gone farther than any other societies to make gender equality the purpose of the law. Those are ineradicable differences. You can eradicate them with tremendous social pressure and tyranny. But if you leave men and women to make their own choices, you will not get equal outcomes.
Right, so you're saying that anyone who believes in equality, whether you call them feminists, call them whatever you want to call them, should basically give up because it ain't going to happen.
Only if they're aiming at equality of outcome.
So you're saying give people equality of opportunity, that's fine.
It's not only fine, it's eminently desirable for everyone, for individuals and for society.
But still women aren't going to make it. That's what you're really saying.
It depends on your measurement techniques. They're doing just fine in medicine. In fact, there are far more female physicians than there are male physicians. There are lots of disciplines that are absolutely dominated by women. Many, many disciplines. And they're doing great. So
let me put something else to you from the book. You say the introduction of the equal pay for equal work argument immediately complicates even salary comparison beyond practicality for one simple reason. Who decides what work is equal? It's not possible. So the simple question is, do you believe in equal pay?
Well, I made the argument there. It's like it depends on who defines it.
So you don't believe in equal pay?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Because a lot of people listening to you...
I don't think she listens to the words coming out of his mouth.
I don't know.
She doesn't listen to what he says.
Because she have own... Okay.
She has everything in her mind as to who he is, And so it doesn't matter what he says, she's going to believe that what she has up here that's who he is. That's it.
Because she have own goal to provoke Jordan Peterson. That's it.
What, to get him angry?
Yeah, to make some mistakes, say some mistakes, words like that. That's it.
But he said, I'm very, very careful with my words. That was a terrible impression.
We'll just say, I mean, are we going back to the dark
That's because
ages
they're actually
here?
not listening. They're
I'm
just
listening very
projecting
carefully,
what
and
they
I'm
think.
hearing you basically saying women need to
not
just
listening.
accept they're never going to make it on equal terms, equal outcomes is how you defined it.
No, I didn't
If I
say
was
that.
a young
I said
woman
that equal...
watching that, I would go, well, I might as well just go and play with my Cindy dolls and
I
give
didn't
up
say
trying
that.
at school because I'm not going to get the top job I want because
said
there's
that
someone sitting there saying it's not possible and it's
said
not
that
desirable. It's
equal
going to
Right now, I'm literally just picturing her going home crying now after this interview, and she's got a little doll, and she's going, oh, but it's my Cindy doll. I wish somebody was great at editing and could like put in a thing of her playing with a little Cindy doll. I'm gonna look to see if there's a picture like that.
Oh, you probably look good. Yeah.
make
Outcomes
you
aren't
miserable.
desirable. That's what I said. It's a
Yeah,
bad
it's not
social
desirable.
goal. I didn't say that women shouldn't be striving for the top or anything like that, because I don't believe that for a second.
Striving for the top, but you're going to put all those hurdles in their way, as has been in their way for centuries, and that's fine. You're saying that's fine.
No, I think I really
The
think that's-
patriarchal
I
system
really
is
think
just
that's
fine.
silly. I do. I think that's silly. I really do. I mean, look at your situation. You're hardly unsuccessful.
Yeah, and I have
How'd
battled
you
quite
manage
hard
it?
to get where I've got
Exactly.
to.
Good
So that's
for you.
okay. Battling is good. This is all
It's
about the
inevitable.
fight. But you talk about men
Why
fighting. I mean,
wouldn't
let me
you
just
ha-
put another thing to you from the book.
Why
You're
wouldn't
saying
you have to
real.
battle for a high-quality position?
Well, I notice in your book you talk about real conversations between men contain.
She doesn't answer his questions. She just looks and like, huh? And then she's like, I'm not gonna answer that. It's a trick. It's a trick. Keep answering. Keep reading.
Yeah. It's like, it will distract my goal. Oh my God. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Quote, an underlying threat of physicality.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
What about real conversations between women? Is that something, or are we sort of too amenable and reasonable?
No, it's just that the domain of physical conflict is sort of off limits for you.
Well,
And
you
it's
just said
rather
that I've
unfortunate.
fought to get where I've got.
Yeah, but
What does that make me?
Well,
A
I
sort of
don't
proxy
imagine.
man or
I
something?
don't imagine that you've. Yeah, to some degree.
It's a freaking literal. It doesn't mean like you punch people in the face to like get your job. You're like, this is my job now, bitch. Psh. Like nobody's doing that.
No.
It's so stupid. Like, she's so annoying.
Degree, I suspect you're not very agreeable.
So that's the thing. Successful women, I'm not very agreeable.
Right.
But
I've noticed that
successful-
actually in this conversation.
At least
and
we
I'm
can have
sure
a
it
joke about
served your career well.
Successful women, though,
Mm-hmm.
basically have to wear the trousers, in your view. They have to sort of become men to succeed, is what you're saying.
Well, if they're going
I've had to fight to succeed,
if they're
therefore
going to
I'm an
compete
honorary
against
man.
men, certainly masculine traits are going to be helpful. I mean, one of the things I do in my counseling practice, for example, when I'm consulting with women who are trying to advance their careers, is to teach them how to negotiate and to be able to say no and to not be easily pushed around and to be formidable. And you need to, if you're going to be successful, you need to be smart, conscientious, and tough.
Well, here's a radical idea. Why don't the bosses adopt the male bosses, shall we say, adopt some female traits so that women don't have to fight and get their sharp elbows out for the pay rises? It's just accepted if they're doing the same job, they get the same pay.
Well, I would say partly because it's not so easy to determine what constitutes the same job.
But
You know,
that's because, arguably,
yeah.
there are still men dominating our industries, our society, and therefore they've dictated the terms for so long that women have to.
No one will work.
No one will work. So that no pay gap. No one will work.
Well, that might come in the future with the robots.
Yeah, no one will work.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
the
just stay
solution.
at home and the robots will do everything.
Yeah.
Do you want a robot?
Should we buy?
I don't think we can buy one yet, but maybe in future, 10 years, 20 years.
I guess that will
Would
happen.
you buy a robot?
For me to work?
No, like the robot would like,
Work for me?
yeah, I guess.
Or...
You know, make love.
What? No! Not that part.
That's what all the guys are hoping for. They're like, sex bot.
No!
Battle to be
No,
like the men.
it's not true. It's not true. So, for
Where's the
example,
evidence?
well, I can give you an example very quickly. So I worked with women who worked in high-powered law firms in Canada for about 15 years, and they were as competent and put together as anybody you would ever meet. And we were trying to figure out how to further their careers. And there was a huge debate in Canadian society at that point that was basically ran along the same lines as your argument, is that if the law firms didn't use these masculine criteria, then perhaps women would do better. But the market sets the damn game. It's like...
And the market is dominated by men.
No, it's
what
not.
I'm
It's
asking
not.
you-
The market is dominated by women. They make 80% of the consumer decisions. That's not the case
What?
at all.
If you're talking
80%.
about people who...
Yeah, you're going to buy the sex bot for me.
No.
That goes in the 20% decision bucket that I get to make.
No. You cannot make.
It's not cheating if it's a robot.
It's cheating.
What? It's not even a real person.
It's still cheating.
I don't believe this.
It's still cheating.
Okay, what were you going to say before this?
I said I'm cheering them up together, like both of them. Like continue fighting, continue fighting. I'm cheering.
Yeah,
them
and
up.
she probably thinks you mean physically fighting. That's what she's picturing.
Yeah, continue fighting.
Stay at home, looking after children. By and large, they are still women, so they're going out doing the shopping. But that is changing.
They make all
Anyway,
the
what I want to
consumer
ask
decisions.
You, okay, so
the
what I want to
market
ask
is driven
you,
by
okay,
women, not men.
Right.
Okay, and if you're a lawyer
And they
in
still
Canada...
pay more for the same sort of goods. That's been proven, that men, you buy a blue bicycle helmet, it's going to cost less than a pink one. Anyway, we'll come on to that.
It's partly because men are less agreeable. Right, so they won't put up with it.
I want to ask you, is it not desirable to have some of those female traits you're talking about? I'd say that's a generalization, but you've used the words female traits. Is it not desirable to have some of them at the top of business? I mean, maybe there wouldn't have
They
been
don't predict
a
success.
banking crisis.
They
if
don't
that had
predict
happened.
success in the workplace. The things that predict success in the workplace are intelligence and conscientiousness. Agreeableness negatively predicts success in the workplace. And so
you're
does
saying
high
that-
negative emotion.
You're saying that women aren't intelligent enough to run these top companies?
No, I didn't say that at all.
You said that female traits don't predict success.
But I didn't say that
Intelligence and
intelligence wasn't. I didn't say that
do.
intelligence and conscientiousness
Well, you were saying that
weren't
intelligence
female
and
traits.
conscientiousness by implication are not female traits.
No,
I mean,
I'm not
that's very
saying that.
dangerous territory.
I'm not saying that at all.
Are women less
There's-
intelligent than men, by and
No,
large?
no, they're not. No, the data on that's pretty clear. The average IQ for a woman and the average IQ for a man is identical. There is some debate about the flatness of the distribution, which is something that James Damore pointed out, for example, in his memo, but there's no difference at all in general cognitive ability. There's no difference to speak of in conscientiousness. Women are a bit more orderly than men, and men are a little bit more industrious than women. But the difference isn't big. But
know
that
plenty of-
averages into
Plenty of
conscientiousness.
men who aren't necessarily as
Well, of
industrious.
course.
But we'll,
these are-
we'll,
okay.
we'll
But no,
female
but you
traits,
asked me
though,
a
why
question.
are they not...
Feminine traits,
Why
let's
are they
say.
not desirable at the top of... Feminine traits, why are they not desirable at the top of business?
It's hard to say. I'm just laying out the empirical evidence. Like we know the traits that predict success.
But we also know, because companies by and large have not been dominated by women over the centuries, we have nothing to compare it to. It's an experiment.
True, and it could be the case that if companies modified their behavior and became more feminine, that they would be successful. But
You
there's
seem
no
doubtful about
evidence
that.
for it. I'm not neither doubtful nor non-doubtful. There's no
So
evidence
why
for
not
it.
give it a go, as the radical
Because the evidence
feminists would
suggests,
say?
well, it's fine. If someone wants to start a company and make it more feminine and compassionate, let's say, and caring in its overall orientation towards its workers and towards the marketplace, then that's a perfectly reasonable experiment to run. My point is that there is no evidence that those traits predict success in the workplace. And there's
Because it's
this
never
evidence
been
is-
tried.
Well, that's not.
You know what? I have a great example that they just brought up at the beginning of this interview. They were talking about how there's more women in the medical field as doctors and that than men. And I'm thinking, what are characteristics that you want in your doctor beyond competence and like that they're skilled and everything? You want them to be compassionate and care about you because it's like a personal connection thing.
Yeah.
And doctors make a lot of money. So I was like, that's a perfect example where the more female-oriented traits fit well. You don't want a doctor to come in and be like, you're fat, lose weight, and then leave. Or you got cancer, you're going to die in a month. Like, you want them to have some sort of emotional empathy with you.
Yeah.
So this is so stupid. Like, clearly there are areas where more feminine traits like that fit well, and doctors... Perfect.
If this is stupid, why are you watching this?
What's stupid?
You said this is clearly stupid. So
What she's saying is stupid.
So I told you we have to get her out of here.
Oh my God. We're driving to Britain, guys. No, we're not, because that would be probably illegal, and we would never try to get rid of anybody. This is totally fictitious. Nobody's trying to get rid of anybody. This is a joke, okay? Don't send the police, the squad? Raid our house? Squad? What am I saying?
Spy.
No, raid our house. They come and arrest us. Think we're gonna murder her.
Spy. Or agent.
Agent?
Yeah, they might send an agent and get us.
You think they would send an agent? James Bond is gonna come. Austin Powers is gonna come get us.
Yeah.
Groovy, baby, yeah.
That's not really the case. Women have been in the workplace for, at least ever since I've been around, the representation of women in the workplace has been about 50%. So we've run the experiment for a fairly reasonable period of time, but not, certainly not for centuries.
Let me move on to another debate that's been very controversial for you. And this is, you got in trouble for refusing to call trans men and women by their preferred personal pronouns.
No, that's not actually true. I got in trouble because I said I would not follow the compelled speech dictates of the federal and provincial government. I actually never got in trouble for not calling anyone anything.
Right.
That didn't happen.
You wouldn't follow the change of law, which was designed
not
to
once
outlaw
it was law.
discrimination.
No.
Why
Well, that's what they said it was designed to do.
Okay, you cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. Like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable.
Well, I'm very glad I put you on the spot.
Well,
I'm very glad that I have exercised my freedom of speech.
You get my point. It's like you're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on.
So
and that is what you should do. But you're exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me. And that's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Bread in, bread out.
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head. Yeah, it took a while.
It did, yeah.
It took a while. You have voluntarily come into the studio and agreed to be questioned. Mm-hmm. A trans person in your class has come to your class and said they want to be called
That's never happened. And I would call them she.
So you would. So you've kind of changed your tune on that.
No, I said that right from the beginning. What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. That's what I said. And then the people who came after me said, oh, you must be transphobic and you'd mistreat a student in your class. It's like, I never mistreated a student in my class. I'm not transphobic, and that isn't what I said.
Well, except you've also called trans campaigners authoritarian, haven't you? I mean, isn't that grossly...
Well, only in the broader context of my claims that radical leftist ideologues are authoritarian,
yes,
which they are.
You're saying someone who's trying to work out their gender identity, who may well have struggled with that, had quite a tough time over the years.
With it, yeah.
You're comparing them with, Chairman Mao, who saw the deaths of millions of people. Well, even if the activists, they're trans people too. They have a right to say these things.
Yeah, but they don't have a right to speak for their whole community.
To compare them to Chairman Mao or... Augusto Pinochet. I mean, this is grossly insensitive.
I didn't compare them to Pinochet.
Well,
I did compare them to
He was an authoritarian.
He's a right-winger, though. I was comparing them to the left-wing totalitarians. Okay. And I do believe they are left-wing totalitarians.
Under Mao, millions of people died.
Right.
I mean, there's no comparison between Mao and a trans activist, is there?
Why not?
Because trans activists aren't killing millions of people?
The philosophy that's guiding their utterances is the same philosophy.
The consequences are...
Not yet.
You're saying that trans activists...
It's like when we had the trucker protests here in Canada. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you heard about that.
No.
Okay, so all these truck drivers during COVID, they were upset about the whole vaccine thing, that you had to take the vaccine, and they were being... they were being put in the line of fire in terms of they had to keep everything running and stuff. So they went and protested down at our parliament buildings, And our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, was like, these are all homophobes and racists and Nazis and whatever, about these truckers that were protesting. Mm-hmm. And he just lumped them into that group. And then they froze a bunch of the bank accounts and the money that was donated to their charity fund or whatever to support them. The people donated money. Took that money away. They GoFundMe. They wouldn't give them any of the money. Or I think they got some of the money. But I want to say it was about $5 million in total, something like that. And they only got like 350,000 or something like this that they had withdrawn. So the rest of the money was just taken away. I don't know if they refunded it to the people, but it's that kind of thing. So yeah, sure, like people, not getting killed, but there's still, people are getting affected by that sort of ideology of group identity and stuff. And sure, it's not trans in this case, but you could see like when this law came out and they would say, hey, you misgendered somebody, you called them he instead of she or they or them or zer or whatever they want to be called. And then maybe you do that a bunch of times, and you do that all the time because you misgender people because you don't have genders in your language. And then you speak English. You're like, she said this, and you're talking about a guy. I'm like, what do you mean she or he or this? You're always mixing it up. Like, yeah,
I'm kind of confused with he or she or he's or her or like sometimes.
Yeah, like you could be taken to court, to this tribunal. It's like a tribunal thing. It's not technically a court. But anyways, they could fine you. And if you don't pay the fine, they could put you in prison. So ultimately you get screwed. And even my brother at work, he was in a meeting and it was about trans. They had to be educated on the whole trans thing and how to call people in the workplace, whatever. What he doesn't like is when they're pushing it on kids. Well, somebody said something to him like, oh, you're a right-winger or something like that. And then they shut down the meeting because they were like, okay, the meeting's over now. They didn't even finish because of my brother saying that one thing. And then they had, he got called in to with his director and manager to be like, you can't talk like that at work. If you do that again, we're going to have to let you go kind of thing. Like you're going to be in trouble. It was like a whole thing. And he was just like, you cannot actually share an opinion. You're not allowed. It will affect your job. And that was just the last year or this year.
Oh yeah. I think you told me that.
Yeah. It happened like in April or something. Or March. I can't remember.
Could lead to the deaths of millions of people.
I'm saying that the philosophy that drives their utterances is the same philosophy that already has driven us to the deaths of millions of people.
Okay, tell us how that philosophy is in any way comparable.
Sure, that's no problem. The first thing is that the philosophy presumes that group identity is paramount. That's the fundamental philosophy that drove the Soviet Union and Maoist China. And it's the fundamental philosophy of the left-wing activists. It's identity politics. It doesn't matter who you are as an individual. It matters who you are in terms of your group identity.
You're just saying these things, though, to provoke, aren't you? I mean, you are a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
I'm only a...
She is the provocateur in this whole thing. She is the provocateur.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody is something, they call you that. They're like, oh, you're a racist. It's because they're actually being a racist a lot of times.
They're the one, yeah.
Yeah, it's like... so much of it has to do with intention, too, right?
Provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative. I don't provoke. Maybe for humor,
you don't set out to
now
provoke.
And then. I'm not interested in provoking.
But what about the thing about, fighting and the lobster? Tell us about the lobster.
Well, that's quite a segue. Well, the first chapter I have in my book is called Stand Up Straight with Your Shoulders Back. And it's an injunction to be combative, not least to further your career, let's say, but also to adopt a stance of ready engagement with the world and to reflect that in your posture. And the reason that I write about law...
Don't you feel more confident with your shoulders up like this? Doesn't it make you feel more confident? Like, don't you feel more like you're prepared?
Yeah, I'm prepared for battle.
Oh, wait. Hopefully you're not fighting Cathy Newman. We don't want to be in trouble here, okay?
All right.
Lobsters is because there's this idea that hierarchical structures are a sociological construct of the Western patriarchy. And that is so untrue that it's almost unbelievable. And I use the lobster as an example because the lobster, we divulged from lobsters in evolutionary history about 350 million years ago, common ancestor. And lobsters exist in hierarchies, and they have a nervous system attuned to the hierarchy. And that nervous system runs on serotonin, just like our nervous systems do. And the nervous system of the lobster and of the human being is so similar that antidepressants work on lobsters. And it's part of my attempt to demonstrate that the idea of hierarchy has absolutely nothing to do with sociocultural construction, which it doesn't.
Let me just get this straight. You're saying that we should organise our societies along the lines of the lobsters?
I'm saying that it's inevitable that there will be continuity in the way that animals and human beings organize their structures. It's absolutely inevitable. And there is 1/3 of a billion years of evolutionary history behind that. Right? That's so long that 1/3 of a billion years ago, there weren't even trees. It's a long time. You have a mechanism in your brain that runs on serotonin that's similar to the lobster mechanism that tracks your status. And the higher your status, the better your emotions are regulated. So as your serotonin levels increase, you feel more positive emotion and less negative emotion.
So you're saying, like the lobsters, we're hardwired as men and women to do certain things, to sort of run along tram lines, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Do you think, because you're a pretty positive person, as am I.
Yeah.
Do you think we have a lot of the serotonin or something? That's why we're positive? Like, why are other people not, like people, like, you find negative people. People are, like, very negative.
Negative, yeah.
Do you think maybe they're just missing the serotonin stuff? Like, they have less of it?
I don't know.
Because it's weird. Like, why are people so negative? Is it just like they have negative experiences in their life that happen, and then they just...
I guess some people are just scared of accepting with the result. That's why they were thinking in a negative way already. Like,
because they think they're going to fail.
Yeah, because that's what they're thinking. Like, oh, it will never happen, or I might be getting failed or something. They're already thinking that, and they are scared of that.
Like somebody who was applying for a visa. Somebody here who was applying for a visa was like, oh my God, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. They're never going to accept me.
No, I'm not saying there's nothing we can do about it, because it's like in a chess game, right? There's lots of things that you can do, although you can't break the rules of the chess game and continue to play chess. And your biological nature is somewhat like that, is it sets the rules of the game, but within those rules you have a lot of leeway. But the idea but one thing we can't do is say that hierarchical organization is a consequence of the capitalist patriarchy. It's like, that's patently absurd. It's wrong. It's not a matter of opinion. It's seriously wrong.
Aren't you just whipping people up into a state of anger? And
not at all.
Divisions between men and women, you're stirring people up. You have any critics of you online get absolutely lambasted by your followers.
And by me, generally.
Sorry, your critics get lambasted by you. I mean,
If
isn't
they're
that
academics,
irresponsible?
not at all. If an academic is going to come after me and tell me that I'm not qualified and that I don't know what I'm talking about,
so you're not going to say to your followers now, quit the abuse, quit the anger?
Well, we'd need some substantial examples of the abuse and the anger before I could detail that question.
There's a lot of it out there.
Let's take a more general perspective on that.
I hate when people do that, like, oh, there's a lot of it out there, or it happens all the time. And they give no examples. 0 examples. Or they give like 1 example, and they're like, well, it happened this one time. I'm sure it's happened a whole pile of times.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Sorry, J-Rock. You don't know J-Rock. Trailer Park Boy. That's
from like the Rush thing that we watch, Rush Hour, right?
Rush Hour? Oh, yeah, like Chris Tucker?
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying, bro? It's like,
you don't know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what you be saying.
It was like even back.
Nobody knows what you be saying, Jackie. Chris Tucker, man.
So I've had 25,000 letters since June, something like that, from people who told me that I've brought them back from the brink of destruction. And so I'm perfectly willing to put that up against the rather vague accusations that my followers are making the lives of people that I've targeted miserable.
Jordan Peterson, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay,
Nice talking to you.
Wrap it up.
Oh, wow. It's like, move it on out. We're done.
We're done. Wrap it up.
That's how much she enjoyed this video. She's like, just move it on. Okay. Well, in the spirit of Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker.
Mm-hmm. What?
Trying to end the tea.
What?
Okay. Sorry. I knew it wasn't going to work. I was hoping you would do like you would say something
Yeah.
like some Asian way, and I would just be like, I don't know what you were saying.
All right.
But, we're not there yet. Tell them what they should do, babe.
All right. You have to watch our video and have to like and subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell notification.
What'd you be saying?
Yeah, bell notification. Like, ding.
My head.
Ding.
Oh, it does work.
Bye.